The gaming industry is a funny thing. The last couple of days, we've been hearing people again for the millionth time bring up the fact that they think Xbox is dying and Xbox is dead, which is just an absolutely absurd take right now after you look at what Xbox has been doing over the last number of years, over this generation, how they've doubled and tripled down on the gaming business. Yes, they're putting games on PlayStation console. Yes, they're putting games into more places where people can access their games. But in no way does that mean that Xbox is dead. It means they've changed their strategy. They've seen where they need to go, where major AAA games have to go in order to be able to be supported. And they've made those adjustments. And I think the adjustments are going to pay off very well for Xbox going forward. And then you have the other side of the coin, and it's PlayStation. And they're making those same adjustments, whether PlayStation fans want to believe it or not. They've just been far slower to the punch because they've had the luxury of having a console and having a fan base that sells much better. The fan base buys everything that they put out no matter what. They can make remakes and remasters, and people are going out and purchasing those games when they haven't really had anything majorly new over the last number of years. But then when they did release a brand new game, a brand new IP that was supposed to be something that was going to support their big AAA third-person action adventure cinematic style of games, it absolutely flopped. And that was Concord at $400 million plus of a loss that they took off the market in about 6 days. And this has had rippling effects through PlayStation. They haven't shown that yet, except until right now we're hearing some more PlayStation games have been canceled. And I think this is just the way that they are in trouble in terms of trying to just figure out how they're going to get into this live service multiplayer games as a service genre to support their major first party AAA cinematic experiences, and Concord has really held them back. And we have this report here from Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, that Sony has canceled 2 more PlayStation projects, more games as a service multiplayer games that they were working on that they are moving away from. And this isn't the first time that we've heard about this. They've canceled other games previously, far more games than what Xbox has been canceling or have canceled this generation. In fact, we will go over the list of everything that they have canceled so far. But here is the article. PlayStation has canceled previously unannounced games at 2 of its top subsidiaries, the company has said Thursday. And the games are at Oregon-based Bend Studio and Texas-based Blue Point Games. And they were both live service projects designed to draw recurring revenue from players. And that is exactly what PlayStation, I would say, needs. But I don't think they need to overkill on that. They need maybe 1, maybe 2 that is doing well for them. They just have not hit that out of the park yet. And it's going to be very hard because it is hard to break into the multiplayer live service genre because kids these days are just basically playing the exact same game over and over and over again. And when there is a new entry into that style of video game, it's very hard to pull people away. We have seen a recent success, which is Marvel Rivals, which has done very, very well. Helldivers 2 was a success as well. But to get people away from the Fortnites, the Call of Duties, and all of that stuff. I mean, obviously, I say kids these days because kids are a big portion of that fan base. Of course, I played some of those games. Adults play those games. But it is very hard to get people away from their tried, true, and tested multiplayer games as a service game to break in with a new hit. And that is the strategy that PlayStation is trying to employ right now to be able to support their games. We even heard Shuei Yoshida talk about how he would have resisted this strategy if he was at the helm when these decisions were being made. This is basically all under Herman Hulst right now, who is making these calls. Concord was his baby. We are hearing that PlayStation is working on a massive multiplayer online game for the Horizon series where they want to have 100 million players in the game. And of course, that is Guerrilla Games IP. That is under Herman Hulst. So since he's been the head, or since he's been making a lot of these decisions, you could say that PlayStation has been faltering in more ways than one. Now, when it comes to what they are saying specifically, they say here that following recent review, PlayStation will continue making both online and single player games, but neither studio will be shuttered, saying Bend and Bluepoint are highly accomplished teams who are valued members of the PlayStation Studios family, and we're working closely with each studio to determine what are the next projects. So that, I say, is good news. They're not going to be closing these studios down, but they don't know what they're going to be working on. You have to ask yourself, are they going to be taking Bend and Bluepoint and giving them new projects and new IPs, which I think desperately is needed here from PlayStation, especially if when we get the next state of play, if we don't get really anything new and it's all just focused on third party, there's going to be a lot of questions to be asked. Are they going to give them new games and IPs to work on, or are they going to do what they have done previously with, for example, Bend, and just put them on other projects that are currently in development, help support those projects? And some of those could be remakes and remasters. That is the biggest question I am crossing my fingers that is not the case, that they do give them the ability to go make a new game, go make a new IP, delve into something that will get people excited. But I have a feeling, because of what's going on right now, with them having to cancel games, with them losing 400 million on Concord, things like that, they're going to be very, very risk adverse going forward. And we're just going to see continuous remakes, remasters, and the current IPs that are out there, and a lot less of them diving into their back catalog and bringing out stuff that people would love to see, like bring back a Killzone, bring back a SOCOM, bring back a Resistance. I mean, they have so many things that they could turn into something fun in multiplayer. I don't think, want to take that risk as of right now. Now, it goes on here and it says, over the last few years, PlayStation has invested big in live service games, which are typically multiplayer games with microtransactions and other ways to get money out of players for months and years after they launch. And these games are risky ventures, but can be lucrative when they are successful. They've had Helldivers 2, which has been successful, and then several flops, including Concord, which again was removed from sale less than 2 weeks after it was released. We've also heard about other canceled live service games like Spider-Man, which was one that actually looked pretty cool. I believe we even saw some leaked footage as to kind of what they were doing with that. That actually did look pretty cool. But when we take a deep dive into the amount of games that PlayStation has canceled as of right now, the list is long and the list is continuing to grow. We have Concord that was canceled, an unannounced God of War game. That was one of the two that was just recently canceled. The Last of Us multiplayer, which is one, if you remember, this is the worst of them all, I would say, because they made people kind of believe that this was going to be coming out with The Last of Us 2, or at least if you bought the game, you were going to get this game multiplayer added on later. They had so many showcase spots where Neil Druckmann and the team came out and talked about this game long periods, trying to get people hyped up, and then out of nowhere, they just cancel it. Spider-Man 2 multiplayer, Bend Studios multiplayer, whatever that game was. We don't know exactly what type of game it was. Twisted Metal from Firesprite, which I think would have been very cool to see bring back, and they could have made that game into something I think relatively successful. London Studios co-op game, which was a studio that also did get close. We have that infamous picture of Jim Ryan taking a picture with the people at London Studios. I think it was just a few days or a few weeks or something before he closes them down. It was for his retirement. Deviation Games multiplayer game was canceled, and then Payback, which was a third-person Destiny spin-off from Bungie, canceled. So these are all of the canceled games here from PlayStation from roughly the past year. Just in the past year, this has all been going down. So if you're sitting back and thinking that console sales are the only thing that matters and the only thing that is showing who is going to be successful, who is the leader in the gaming industry, clearly that is not the case. I don't think PlayStation is in trouble. I don't think they're dead. I'm not going to put out anything stupid like that we do see happen with Xbox on a weekly basis at this point. But they are absolutely in a transitionary phase where they have to come up with something, or things could start getting rougher and we may see more cancellations. They do need to have a successful online multiplayer games as a service game. I just don't think it should be their entire portfolio. Clearly, they were looking to have a huge shift into putting out tons of games like that. And maybe they're sitting back now after canceling all these games and kind of trying to readjust course, take resources that they were going to put into all of these online multiplayer games and put them back into the single player side of things, which I think for a lot of people would be happy to see that if they have the single player stuff, games as a service, and then they also have the one or two multiplayer games that can supplement the ongoing revenue that PlayStation desperately needs to support the budgets of $300+ million to make these massive cinematic experience. So crazy times. We'll wait and see what the next move are. Hopefully there is a PlayStation showcase or a PlayStation Direct in the next few months, and then we get more insight as to potentially new games that they are working on. But we will have to wait and see. I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.